Happy Friday. I hope everybody's having a positive, productive day so far today. If not, I pray your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and of course the Most High help you with that. I also pray that He clothes us in to toe, that He strengthens our discernment and guides our steps as we go throughout this day. That being said, I'm here with the daily devotion for Sarah Young's Jesus Calling for November 22nd, 2024. Just a heads up, we are outside. I've got the dogs out, cold, but the sun's out and they want to be outside. So it's just easier for me to be out here with them, just in case anything happens. That being said, a thankful attitude opens windows of heaven. Spiritual blessings fall freely unto you through those openings into eternity. Moreover, as you look up with a grateful heart, you get glimpses of glory through those windows. You cannot yet live in heaven, but you can experience foretastes for your ultimate home. Such samples of heavenly fare revive your hope. Thankfulness opens you up to these experiences, which then provide further reasons to be grateful. Thus, your path becomes an upward spiral, ever increasing in gladness. Thankfulness is not some sort of magical formula. It is the language of love. It enables you to communicate intimately with me. A thankful mindset does not entail a denial of reality with its plethora of problems. Instead, it rejoices in me, your Savior, in the midst of trials and tribulations. I am your refuge and strength, an ever present and well proved help in trouble. She references Psalm 46, verse 1, and Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 17 and 18. And honestly, I don't think I've ever even read from that part of the Bible. So we're going to look that one up today. I'm almost certain it's the Old Testament, but I could be wrong. Yes, it is. 1292. I opened up to Ezekiel. I may go back there later. Sorry, it's taking a while. 1292, is that what I said? Yeah, there we go. I turned right to it. Okay. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see, I may not be saying that right. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that rise up strife and contention. I just started in chapter 1, verse 1. This is verse 4. I don't know. Oh, she said 3:17. Okay, let's do that. 3:17. The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save, he will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. 18. I will gather them that are sorrowful, a solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I make them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord. Wow. We will definitely read that section today. Oh, wow. And I had turned to the wrong, uh, that's Zephaniah. Wow. Okay. If that's not a hidden sign, I don't know what is. Okay. So Habakkuk, I don't think I'm saying that right. Habakkuk, 17 and 18. Wow. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit bear in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet. He will make me to walk upon mine high places, to the chief singer on my stringed instruments. Wow. A lot of thankful. I guess the book is really going, it's getting close to Thanksgiving. So the devotional book is leaning more towards that, which, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's good to be thankful. But uh, as we're seeing here in both passages, it's important to be thankful all the time, not just during the holidays, not just when it's convenient. It's easy, so easy to get caught up in emotion and in the things that are going on around us in the world, not only in our personal lives, but the world at large. Everything is changing. Big things are happening, and a lot of people aren't seeing it. Um, Now, of course, I'm not claiming to be any kind of guru by any means, but because there's even a lot that I don't know, but there's a lot prophecies are being played out before our eyes. And if that doesn't make you a believer, I don't know what will. Um, but as you explore different sections of this book, don't just limit yourself to this book. There is an infinite world of knowledge out there. Now, of course, it is important to remain aware of where your knowledge is coming from. And it's important to get facts from different places and then make an informed opinion of your own. We are judged by our faith and by the contents of our heart. What is your heart seeking? Are you seeking after the wrong things? The things that aren't even going to matter? Oh, wow, I can't believe this is coming up in the video. Yesterday, I went on and looked on the funeral home that most of the people that I would know would go to. And I found one friend that had passed away. Uh, then I ended up finding another one, two of them, within the last 6 months. And when you really stop and think about at the end of your life, what do you think people are really going to be talking about? Do you think standing around your casket when you're dead, people are gonna be talking about how much money you had? Do you think they're gonna be talking about, um, all the accomplishments that you made? They're gonna be talking about what kind of person you were. Were you an honest person? Were you a caring person? Were you authentic? Were you sympathetic? Were you helpful? Did you have that drive in you to learn more? Sure, those things become accomplishments, but the root of it all, and really in the end, it's not a matter of what the world thinks of you. It's what the universe thinks of you. The universe doesn't operate out of emotion. The universe doesn't operate out of unfairness. The energy that we put out is always going to come back, whether it's all at once, a little bit at a time, at the very last minute, you know, it comes back around. Call it karma, call it return to sender, call it whatever you want to call it. In the end, as soon as you take it into your own hands, that's when you can get in trouble. Vengeance is a dirty, dirty thing. Most vengeance uh, revolves around greed. And it's important, so important that, we remember that people don't owe us anything. It's all energy. It's all out of our control anyways. Like you want you want closure, you want reciprocity, whatever it is in your situation. Uh 9 times out of 10, all the time, really, not 9 times out of 10. The disrespect was the closure. Thank you, Doc. That's a line from Doc. The disrespect was the closure. The there's no and where it gets complicated is when people start taking it into their own hands and they do a lot of other awful things that's behind that. It's not like, oh, well, you're just vengeful. No, where does that come from? It comes from anger. It comes from jealousy. It comes from greed. It comes from pride. It comes from wrath. All those emotions go into being vengeful, whether it's against yourself or other people. Sometimes the self forgiveness is the hardest part. It's easy to forgive the other people, most of the time. But it's forgiving ourselves that's so hard. But that's because there's a root to those emotions. There's a reason why they're like that. And in a lot of ways that turns into abuse. Manipulation, gaslighting, ghosting, breadcrumbing, all those things. Because deep down inside, the receiver of all of that is hurting too. They're dealing with their own emotions. And it's very much a mirroring effect. And there's a bunch of examples of that in this book where one person's mindset, one person's mentality can poison a whole city. And And unfortunately, especially nowadays, uh, really the only access that we have to like-minded people is online. But they did that for a reason. You know, uh, communities aren't communities anymore. Everybody stays in their houses and stays to themselves and keeps their heads down, and they don't even pay attention to what's going on around them because they're programmed. People, and it's not something that just happens overnight. People let that happen to themselves. I lived in the dark for a long time. I uh but that's because I wasn't part of the world. I was My whole life I've always been like in a little bubble. And that just adds more emotion, fear, lack of understanding. That's why the book tells us, lean not on your own understanding. It's because we can't understand it, because people get so stuck in the box or in the book. That's what the Pharisees did. They put God in a box. And when somebody came along and said, no, that's not the way it is, they killed him. You no longer had to, like, he was showing them the wrong that they had done. And they were so prideful that they sacrificed him instead of heeding and hearing his words. And that's all around us. The signs are everywhere on both sides of the spectrum. The sun's shining. It's a beautiful day. It looks gorgeous outside, but it's cold. Looks can be deceiving. If you're inside in your warm, cozy house and you're just looking outside, it looks like a warm, beautiful day. But boy, as soon as you open that door, you're like, oh, I need like 2 more layers on. You know what I mean? It Things aren't always what they seem. And it really takes like an private investigator type mindset to get it. You can't just sit there and eat everything that's being fed to you like you're a baby and be on the right track. That's the difference between the broad and the narrow. Don't follow that broad path. It's dangerous. It's not him trying to it's like when we're kids, okay? And your parent tells you not to do something. Like, you're going to get hurt. If you do that, you're going to get hurt. Whatever it is, fill in the blank. And then we go and do it anyways. And we're hurt. We get hurt physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually. We get hurt. Well, he tries to make it easy on us. Like, dude, it's so hard. Like, I feel like, me personally, at this point in my life, it's like it's like enough is never enough. I just keep diving in more and more, and it's not that it gets confusing, it's just a lot to absorb. And there's a car turning around in the driveway. It happens all the time. Dog's freaking out about it. Yeah. Uh Dang. Now I got distracted. 1951 on the timer. Uh, you know, and that all the if you go back to when our grandparents when we were kids. Like, I'm 40, so, go back 30 years ago. The world was a completely different place, and it seemed more innocent. But in reality, was it really? Or were they just way better at hiding it? Or, like, it's to the point now to where they're so prideful that, like, they are not even trying to hide it. They don't even care anymore. They've got so many people sucked into the system, they don't even care anymore. And the rabbit holes are endless, So the deeper I go, the more I know, but it kind of keeps you at a standstill. Or at least that's where I feel like I'm at right now. Like, the world is in such a place as a whole that we really don't have any choice but just to 2111 on the timer, to just we just have to be. And hopefully, I have faith that a lot of that's fixing to change. But that being said, it's like, so many things are like at a standstill. Okay, it's like, remember on that scene in Titanic, or on a scene, any kind of movie where they show the big ship engines back on the old big ships where, like, they were burning coal in the bottom of the ship type stuff. Uh, when they would have to turn the direction of the propeller, they would have to let the engine completely stop. All those wheels and pistons and stuff that are going to keep that boat moving, they have to let it come to a complete stop before they can put it in reverse. Like, I feel like that's where we're at right now. Like, the shift is happening. Like, that motor is slowing down, and eventually it's gonna kick back in. But right now, I feel like we're at that point where it's just like, it's still going, it's just got a little bit more to go, and then it'll stop. And then we can reverse it. What's that song? It's a Missy Elliott song. Uh, Work It, I think, is the name of that song. That's what I'm hearing in my head right now. Missy Elliott, Work It. Okay. Um, but I guess maybe a little piece of advice I could give is just, confirmation. Just be careful of how much you take in at one time. Um, Biblically and spiritually. Uh, because as we got our own stuff that we're healing from and dealing with, and then we've got all these changes happening in the world. And, it can be a struggle sometimes. Um, I don't I don't pretend to have all the answers, and I don't pretend to I'm very humble when it comes to learning new things, and um I think we all should be. Um a lot of people walk around spiritually dirty, and they're so good at playing the role that, and the outside people don't, they're not paying attention. They take everything for face value, and that's something that I've had to stop doing. And I suggest a lot of people do that. Don't take things for face value. At least 50% of your world is fake, unless you're on the right path already. But if you're still teeter-tottering, and, you know, the food thing is something that is really important to acknowledge. It's getting harder and harder to get real food. Everything's poisoned. Everything's, uh anyways, I'm not even gonna get into all that. It's prophecies are happening right now. Things that are happening now have already happened before. We keep destroying ourselves, like, as individuals, as a society, as a world. We are killing ourselves because we're letting the evil win. And we come up against that evil in hundreds of ways every day. You know, you got all different kinds of personality disorders and people that are just eat up with it. You know, and I'm not gonna sit here and deny that at a point in my life, I was there. At a point in my life, I was just doing what I thought was expected of me. I was oblivious. Oblivious. Naive, gullible, and I still am when it comes to certain things. I'm really hard on myself about that stuff. That's a place where I'm still struggling to find my balance. Uh, bal like, to me, that's the key for everything. You have to have a balance. You can't teeter-totter too far either way, because it's dangerous. That energy, that manipulation, that demonic personality, because that's what they are. I don't care what anybody says, it's a demonic personality. Narcissists, uh, players, people that are very promiscuous, people that are very, prideful and greedy. That's a demonic energy that they have on them that only they can get rid of. And we all have them. Whether they're big ones or little ones, we all have them. And it's being able to pull yourself out of it that's so important. Anything is possible, but we have to be willing to sacrifice the old to get the new. And that can be a very uncomfortable experience, especially when you're used to on a certain level having control over your life. You know, when we're children, we just do what we're told, right? We don't get to have an opinion. We don't get to form our own little personalities. And I'm talking about when I was growing up. And now it's on the completely opposite end of the spectrum where they don't know who and what they are because their minds are being poisoned. They're before they even get started. Do you make do you remember how hard our childhoods were? And we didn't have half that crap to deal with. How hard it was for my generation, at least in my neck of the woods. We had rough lives. Most of us grew up with single parents, dads that were out there whoring and drugging around. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine now? Like, when we were kids, the internet didn't even exist. For real. Like, I was a teenager when the internet came around. I wanna say I was 15 when AOL came onto the scene. "You've got mail." And you'd sit there for hours in dumbass chat rooms talking to people that you're never gonna meet. MySpace. Boy, I would love to be able to access my old MySpace account. Boy, wouldn't that take us down memory lane for sure. But I mean, there's been a lot of good changes, but there's been a lot of bad ones as well. Kids, I mean, we didn't even get to be kids when we were growing up. Most of us had to grow up really early in life, you know, and the generation before us had to do it even more. And that's why a lot of the men from those generations are narcissists because they were never taught how to deal with emotions. They were thrown out in the field and on the farm or whatever, working, trying to support their brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was nothing like it is today. If you didn't grow your food, if you didn't have a farm to supply for your family, you didn't eat. That was just the way of it. But that's why a lot of them walk around with a lot of pride and arrogance as well. Yeah. A lot of the men that are in their 50s and 60s now are very narcissistic. Very. Even a little bit older, really. But once you get into the 70s, they're really kind of innocent in a way, you know? Maybe not that maybe they weren't always like that, but it's like they've by that age they've kind of reverted back to being a child because usually by that age they've uh strengthened their spiritual relationships and stuff like that. So, but men that are in their 50s and 60s right now are very narcissistic, very egotistical, very prideful, arrogant, you know, dirty mouthed, very sneaky, like used car salesman energy. Yeah. That and then of course my generation, the for the most part, we lost I we've lost a lot of people from my generation to drug overdose. Yeah. Um, and that's unfortunate. Or if not drug overdoses, just drug related issues in general. Drinking and driving, car wrecks, and drugs. Yeah. It's sad. And I it makes me sad to see areas of the world that are so consumed by that kind of behavior. I know how easy it is to get sucked into it, but I also know how easy it is to get saved out of it, you know? And I heard a little video clip today, and the guy said it was a reference to like um, an old wise person. I don't, uh, and it said, if you say, oh, confirmation. If you say that somebody has ruined your life, then you're right. And that person is you. And the way he said it, he said, isn't that a mic drop? Like, that's a total mic drop moment. Now, don't get me wrong. It's just out of your control, and that goes back to what we've talked about so many times about just doing what you can. And then once you've done all you can, make the best use of the rest of your time. And sitting around partying, doing drugs, gossiping, you know, uh, prostituting, and all that stuff, that's not the way. It's not the way. And if you really stop and look at some of the themes in our society, they're very sexualized. Everything is sexualized. Everything. The last time I ever watched TV, which, I'd went like 13 years without watching TV. And then when I was on the farm, You know, every once in a while, I would sit and watch TV with them. But there, it's everywhere. There was one sitcom where the little boy had long hair, like a bob cut, and was wearing makeup. No, man. In reality, we women don't even need to be wearing makeup. All you're doing is putting a bunch of toxins into your body. Like, I do nail polish, and that's about it. You know, I don't even know why I own makeup anymore because I never wear it. But it's, you're literally wearing a mask. It, what for? If you can't love yourself the way you are, how can you expect other people to be able to love you? Like, I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion, you know. Not that it matters because it, you know, it only matters to me. But that was something that I watch women fall victim to it all the time. Think about the money and the time that you spend on anything makeup related. Anything that you use to put that mask on. I could tell 100 different things, different ways that time and money could better be spent. And you're literally putting poison into your body. We're not meant to be all painted up and shit like that. I mean, I get it. It's fun, you know, to do it, you know, to boost your mood or, you know, to help you with something that you're struggling with about yourself. I get it. You know, I don't like seeing all these wrinkles popping up on my face. You know, one side's drooping lower than the other side, missing teeth. I used to have a beautiful smile, but nonetheless, it's who I am. I can't hide it. All I can do is live with it. But we've made a world where people can't even be themselves anymore. That's what we're living in. And 9 times out of 10, well, maybe not that often, we'll say 50% of the time, if somebody's coming towards you in any type of way, it's not for something good. You really have to seek that out. And that makes me so sad. People can literally stand there and lie to your face and know that they're lying, and they just do it anyways over the dumbest things. Ice cream. Dude, I have literally watched a fight break out, or I shouldn't say I've watched it. For years, I heard a story of a literal fight breaking out over ice cream. For real. Like, if you're willing to get into a fight over an ice cream, you're not going to make it in this world. I mean, you will, but the sad part about it is you're going to take valuable resources away from people who really need it. You know, because you're greedy and ungrateful and, you know, whatever. Fill in the blank. You know, there's thousands of different situations it could be. It's disappointing to say the least. I don't know who this is, but this is somebody actually like pulling in. Copper, darling. Yeah, they're just turning around. They must be new around here. They pulled in too far. I told you it happens all the time. It's because we're right here on the main road. I hate it. I shouldn't say I hate it. It's not my favorite. I'd rather be in the woods in a tent somewhere. For real. I watched some bushcraft, or is that what it's called? Oh, speaking of which, I got a new book, Bushcraft 101, a field guide to the art of wilderness survival. Dave Cannonbury, New York Times bestseller. It talks about choosing the right items for your kit, manufacturing needed tools and supplies, collecting and cooking food, and protecting yourself from the elements. I opened it up and checked it out a little bit where it talks about the different types of axe, uh, the different styles, and then the different kinds of knives, how to wrap your pack so it stays dry. Um, Here it's got like the belt pouch, your full pack, summer fishing kit, winter trapping kit, little kits that you can make to put in your pack, which I've got all that stuff, but I need to get me like a duffel pack. I had one and I gave it away, that's what I do. And which technically I've got like a duffel bag that I could carry like a pack. So, um, actually, I might start working on that, making a pack, because like I've got all my fishing stuff and my tent, and you know, my tent, now that I've gotten my new tents, they're small enough to where they'll probably fit in a pack. Mm-hmm. Uh, the cooking stuff I've got, but it's in with all my big cooking stuff. But like I totally got probably most of what I need. I think the cordage that I have may not be exact, but I've got rope. Plenty of rope. And I got 2 hammocks. I got pretty much two of everything. 2 hammocks, 2 tents, 2 chairs, which depending on how big of a hike, you probably wouldn't want to carry the chairs, but uh I need to start working on that. Get my stuff out and build my pack. There you go. Inspiration for the weekend. Work on building a pack. Technically, I've got 2 duffel bags. They've got clothes in them though. But I've probably got the stuff to make 2 different packs, except for maybe the cooking stuff. Yeah. So there you go. If you're, but the whole point of me getting that out, I watched Bushcraft yesterday, where I watched a guy build a whole freaking house, Viking style. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I watched him build a rope bed. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Uh, the boards that he used for the bed, though, they were like brought in. They weren't natural wilderness boards. But pretty much everything else other than the bed, he built with just limbs. And his main tool was like the hatchet, where you got the cutting end and then the hammer, or the cutting side and the hammer side. Yeah, I think that's one thing I still need to get, actually. But nonetheless, um, it is wintertime. So good little things like that to keep us busy and, keep us motivated. Um, I'm forcing myself to be outside today because it's cold and I really don't want to be out here. But I don't want to get so used to being inside that I can't handle the cold. So I'm going to get my coveralls out today and my boots, and start dressing winterly. It's kind of nice though, because I mean, when you have the coveralls on, your other clothes don't get dirty. So, you know, yeah, it's getting that time of year to layer up. at least in my area. I'm sure it's already been that way up further north for a while now. But we've been having some really funky weather. Uh, it's usually cold. It's usually this cold a lot earlier in the year. I'm pretty sure. Plus, I'm up on the mountain now, so I'm even higher up. So, yeah. All right. 45, 44 on the timer when I looked. I've just been sitting here blabbing, but I've enjoyed it. Hopefully, the more lives I come on and do, the more viewers I'll get, because I know people just aren't used to me going live yet. So, um, as always, be grateful for what you have, the big, the small, and the blessings yet to come. If you see a need out there today, tomorrow, next week, if there's any possible way that you can fill that need, please do so. You may not only better their day, but you could possibly change their life, and you never know the impact it could have on yours. Be blessed, find peace, and I'll see you next time.